So on my travels to Fuerteventura, I've done minimalism in the kind of most maximal way possible because I've got 4 different minimal phones to try out for you. And I can tell you that one of them out of the 4 I'm going to recommend to you. And I wouldn't just recommend over the other 3, but I'd recommend it wholeheartedly as a really serious alternative to an ordinary smartphone. This is the 4 we've got with us, which is the light phone, the minimal phone, Medita Compact, and the BigMe Hibre Pro. And I can straight away just separate these into this category. That these 2 don't have the Google Play Store, although they are introducing side loading on the Compact, and these 2 are the fully Google Play Store enabled devices. So you'd see these 2 as being just a phone, whereas these 2 can actually replace your smartphone. And I think that's an important distinction to make. Out of these 2, if you are looking just to replace a phone, well, don't buy this. Because frankly, you might as well just buy a £20 feature phone, because you'll take it out of your pocket just as infrequently as this, but when you do need to do something with it, at least it will get you out of more problems. It'll be more useful to have a basic Nokia rather than this, which can't even do GPS properly. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking what Light are doing as a company, and I really admire their stance for healthier use of technology. And I like the e-ink screen idea, although it seems they've gone away from that in their latest Light Phone 3. They've actually gone for an OLED screen. And I think that's because everyone's been shouting for a camera on the Light Phone. It's just that the software isn't where it needs to be to do anything for you, in my opinion, in this day and age. And I just think, yeah, if you want a simple phone, there's far cheaper ways to get that experience. And accept that it's not going to be a desirable product. It's going to be something pretty basic, like we were used to maybe 10 or 15 years ago. This one, however, the Medita Compact, if you were looking for something to actually be a minimal phone, something that you take out occasionally instead of your iPhone, for example, then this would be a really good option. And well, got more to say on this in a future video, certainly, because this is something really nice. It's something different. They've considered what they've put on here. They've worked on it to give you a really thoughtful apps like meditation, apps like chess. They've really thought about what this should be and what a smartphone shouldn't be. But again, it can't replace your smartphone entirely. The Medita is really interesting, and it is certainly something that's very nicely designed. It feels nice in the hand. They've got a lot of things right. For instance, a fingerprint reader. And for just your basic phone needs, I'll come on to messaging in a moment, and some simple camera apps, be a simple e-reader, it's okay. However, my wife's been pretty strict on us this year. She wants us not to be glued to our phones. That's the adults, of course, because she doesn't want us to show to our young people that we can't escape from the internet, that we can't escape from being connected. And the Medita device, I would suggest, would be ideal for her. The problem is, though, that it doesn't have the messaging app that she uses. And the one thing that she's wanted to stay connected to is messaging, because if people want to get hold of her, not for work, but just in general, she doesn't want to be that rude person that doesn't respond. And you don't want to put a sort of auto, I'm on holiday response to your messaging app. But the Medita can't install WhatsApp, which is the messaging app that we use and all of our friends and contacts use. That's a shame. I was hoping to show you that at least it had working GPS. That doesn't seem to be the case there. We are somewhere in the middle of that ocean, but we're certainly not where that dot is. Or maybe it's getting there. That's disappointing. But I'll have more to say on this Medita in some time. But for now, it is certainly an interesting proposition. It's really nice to hold. It's really nicely designed. Medita are doing something interesting. And you'll be interested in some things like this. This is a switch to turn off all connection at all. I have tried reading on it, and I can tell you, unfortunately, the e-ink screen on it is quite low resolution, or they're struggling to actually code for it to give you crisp text, and the text doesn't look great. It's nicely controlled glare though, but you can see it's not very contrasty, and it's actually quite pixelated at times as well. They don't have any e-ink screen modes, and I would expect them perhaps to bring sort of a speed mode and a HD mode. I think that it's always currently in X mode, essentially. So you're getting the lower quality, the lower contrast that entails, and the increased ghosting, as you can perhaps see along here as well. So Medita are one for the future, and I think that it'll be made or broken by how they improve their software on it. So we'll wait and see for that one. And they've told me that it is only pre-production software that we've got on it so far. So the 2 real contenders for this holiday have been the BigMe Hibre Pro and the minimal phone. These two are the two minimal options that could actually replace your smartphone entirely. And so we'll talk more about these two in this comparison and come back to the Medita in a later video. Now, both of these phones I have been using reasonably regularly on this trip, and I can tell you that one of them is excellent. But where Minimal are right now is where Bigme were 4 years ago, in that their software is nowhere near ready to work well on this e-ink screen. I'll have lots more to say on this Minimal phone, and again, this phone will be made or it'll be broken by the software improvements that they bring for it. I have only a few complaints about this, and I will do a full review on this, of course, but just for now, the fact that Android Auto hasn't been working yet has been an issue. And they did say you can solve it by changing the DPI setting. Essentially, it's struggling to connect to the Android Auto app because it's not able to produce things at the same DPI as the car screen. And that's confusing things. And well, I'll back Bigme to actually sort that out. But even just lowering the DPI settings didn't make it connect to my car. There's a few other little things, but generally I can tell you that right now, this has been able to replace my smartphone. And generally I've been leaving my bigger smartphone and we're generally not using it at all. As I said, my wife's been asking us to stay disconnected as far as possible, but it comes with us in the car, for instance, just for things like GPS, and it's already all connected with all of the apps I could possibly ever need on this trip. So it's there ready to go, let's just say. But I've taken this to the beach with no issues with getting sand on it or anything like that. And I've enjoyed reading on this the whole holiday so far. Yeah, I wholeheartedly recommend this phone. It gets so many things right. Just touch the fingerprint sensor to unlock. You've got widgets there for your Google Calendar, something you couldn't install on the Medita or on the Lite phone. You can see it's really fast and it's remaining really clear. Do you see how without doing a full refresh, it just got rid of all of those things there? I barely ever have to touch the e-ink center, but at least it's all there. All of the options are there. But auto clean on, you see, by default. And in some apps, for instance, when I go into my reading app, and I've spent a lot of time so far on this holiday just enjoying reading Dante, you can see that it will have switched automatically to my custom mode with the best refresh settings to get the best quality out of it. And you can see it's still really fast and rarely ever needs to be refreshed. When I do need a refresh, I've got an action button here which can do refresh, and these can all be set to various different actions. I mean, it's just brilliant, to be quite honest. I've been able to do lots on it. For instance, I've been using the ChatGPT app on it really successfully to help us out with things like, what's the wind like in Fuerteventura at the minute? What's the waste disposal situation? When should we take things to the bins? Asking it questions on this rather than having to search for lots of information on the internet. Let it do it for you. And of course, there's the Messenger, WhatsApp there, available to use whenever needed. And I'm just going to be more intentional about what I install on this, and that's going to make it my Minimal phone. The Minimal phone, by comparison, still got a fingerprint reader that does work reasonably well. You can just see getting around it, it's just not as nice a look. And can you see how badly pixelated that text is on the screen there? And that is what's going to plague it, I'm afraid. Bigme have taken the time to put now really quite comprehensive skin on top of Android, whereas Minimal have just shipped this with basic Android, and it's not generally ready yet. The e-ink button to refresh is there, that's good, but you've only got these 3 different e-ink modes. And you can see, look at that black, that isn't black at all, is it? It's just not ready. I can go into the faster setting, or the slower setting, and that's better. But even if I'm on that slower setting and I go into a reading app, and there's no dedicated reading app, let's not forget on here. Although this has been fine, I've enjoyed reading on this, you can see after about 3 or 4 pages, it's really starting to break down. And so you have to press that refresh button, which I'm hardly having to do on the BigMe Hibre Pro. There's issues with the keyboard that I've already talked about, but I'll talk more about that in the full review as well. And I just think, well, why didn't they put a row of physical function buttons here rather than just the free standard and capacitive home, back and recents button? This phone's just not ready yet. If you're someone who understands about e-ink, see, that looks terrible, doesn't it? So you've either got a terrible fast mode or you've got a slow and annoying slow mode. And the hybrid mode should go between the two dynamically. But you can see it's just broken. Stand next to my cactus, I think. So that's so far, at least, I think you can probably see that my recommendation is to go with the Bigme. And the reason for that is because it can, right now, replace your smartphone. Sure, if you are looking for a phone that doesn't do the smartphone things, I think there's promise to the Medita Compact. I think there really is. But right now, the minimal phone just isn't ready in terms of its software. And I'll cover that. I will update it, even though it's not easy to update at all. And I will update how well they get this keyboard working. I will update how well they get the screen looking. But I'll be honest, I mean, kudos on them for getting this hardware out, and kudos on them for getting the product out as they said it would be, but now the hard work begins. I've been criticizing Bigme for their software for some time, and they have taken the time to really develop it such that now you've got this blazing fast e-ink screen compared to this thing that feels like where we were with e-ink maybe 5 years ago. I also don't find the keyboard ergonomic to type on. For me, at least, there's much more muscle memory of using an on-screen keyboard, working with Gboard, and it's made this just really seamless to switch into. And this is as far as the kind of built-in software works. This is their minimal launcher. All looks quite good. You'd expect these things to be quite good. Fine, it's a text-based launcher. But you go into, for instance, Notes, and it just takes you to Google Keep, and there's no built-in reader at all. There's nothing that's like just a built-in PDF reader that they've optimized for reading on the e-ink. It's not the case for Bigme, for whom the software might not be all that much to speak of, but at least it's there. And certainly I've really enjoyed being in their Hibre Pro app. Looks great. They've got their own voice-to-text app, which will automatically transcribe your recordings here as well. And it's also linked to any other Bigme device that you have, where you can see the notes from your other devices or any files you put into a Bigme cloud. So at least there are some tailored, bespoke softwares that you can use here on the Bigme. These are my notes from my Note X. So that's me for now. More updates and a full review of the Bigme Hibre coming your way, and I'll do that from here on my travels on Fuerteventura. But for now, I'm overdue on the pool, so I'll see you in a bit. That was really good. It is cold here on Fuerteventura, though, strong wind island when you get out of the pool all wet, but it's been lovely. Not had the very best weather this week, but it's been delightful still. One thing I can say about the minimal phone though is that Android Auto has worked, and the GPS works just as you'd expect it to as well. So there is that over a couple of the other choices that I've gone through in this video. And perhaps, although for me, there's far more muscle memory in using an on-screen keyboard. I don't love it, it's not perfect. I really wanted to love typing on this, but I'm just not used to it. But perhaps for you, if you do have that inbuilt muscle memory of having used a BlackBerry back in the day when they were popular, then perhaps actually going for something with a QWERTY keyboard would work well for you. I think though there's still some software improvements they're going to need to do to make that keyboard work well. I think possibly the kind of recipe of e-ink screen and QWERTY keyboard is really very tempting. It should work, but it just needs a lot more thought going into the actual software experience. That being said, I've really enjoyed the experience of using a minimal phone. Personally, I'm going down the route of using a minimal phone that I can tailor to be minimal on my own terms, so I can only put the apps that I want on these phones, rather than be stuck with the apps that somebody else has decided that you want. And if you're like me and you're looking to be able to go out without taking your bigger OLED smartphone with you, or if you're looking to just totally divorce yourself from this as being an item in your life completely, then these two phones can actually do that. They're both capable of doing that. There are just far fewer compromises with the Bigme. So that's my recommendation. And yes, I have used this larger phone on my holiday. I've used it to watch a little bit of YouTube, to look up some news, but generally this has been staying either in the car or in the house. And this has been what I've been carrying around, and I've just been enjoying focusing on that bit of reading. It's good, it's exactly what it was built to be. And after having been a bit disappointed with the original Hibre that it couldn't replace my smartphone entirely, this one has done the business.